All right, last time in Evolution, Religion, and the 1%, I noted that I made an argument that the evidence from science of that if it's true as scientists allege that any kind of design that would be in the universe would be well beyond anything the human brain could conceive, I made the statement that that could actually be something that could be a meeting point between intelligent people on both sides of the kind of science religion debate. Now, I've decided that I'm going to get to that maybe in some way far along in this science and religion series, because I want to take a little bit of a detour on this one. I want to talk about the movie Avatar. And I want to talk about particularly Avatar and philosophy. It's not going to be about the special effects. It's not going to be about anything. I mean, if you're tuning in just for that, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I want to get to some issues here with Avatar, particularly when it comes to the science religion debate that we have in the Western world. Avatar, for those of you who have not seen it, but you're going to rent it, okay, and you're going to go. I wish you could see it now with the 3D. It has to come out in theaters again with the 3D glasses, and that was spectacular. Just spectacular. For those of you who have not seen it, Avatar was a metaphor for manifest destiny, a metaphor for, let's say, the American colonization of North America. It's a metaphor for the Spanish colonization of South America, the Chinese colonization of Tibet, the various colonizations that have existed when more quote-unquote advanced civilizations, but in most respects, I would say less free civilizations, try to impose their will, not just their will, but their entire ideology and worldview onto civilizations that are other than themselves. And, you have all the legitimations, spreading democracy, or the Chinese legitimation, which is, that Tibet is a feudal society and all the rest of it. And, it was, but it was far more liberal than anything that's been imposed on them since. And you have these various legitimations, saving souls. And then you have legitimations from modern science, or maybe not modern in today's sense of modern, but early 20th century and late 19th century science. And that's this whole idea of, well, there's this struggle for survival and there are all these unfit people running around, and, really the advancement of the species is going to be all about, the fit people, i.e. guys like us, outbreeding the unfit people, i.e. guys like them. And fitness, of course, was naturally defined by the values of the society as it was. And the values of English and American society was this idea of industrial capitalism, finance capitalism. And so you had, in a sense, the scientific legitimation for eugenics, the scientific legitimation for imperialism, and then the scientific legitimation for the state, the modern state. The modern state being a rotational directorate of corporate executives and politicians all moving around and around. I mean, it's called democracy, but I think the term is questionable, because if you really look at, the how the 1% is structured things, I mean, I don't see a whole lot of democracy there. Okay, so in the technological future of Avatar, you had the humans with their hegemony, the humans with their economic drives meeting a race of people light years away that were still indigenous, just like we were once indigenous. Okay, it's a metaphor, but it's an interesting one. And what you had is a meeting of the two cultures where the humans assumed that the Pandorans would be bought off. They would be bought away from their culture. They'd be bought away from their religion. They'd be bought away from their worldview. The Pandorans continued to disappoint this hope that the benevolence of the seeming benevolence of the Earth ways would co-opt them. They don't want blue jeans. They don't want any of the stuff that we have to offer. What did we want? We wanted what was called unobtainium. Now, unobtainium is an actual term that is used to describe rare metals. It's kind of a joking term. It's unobtainium, right? Okay, it's sort of one of these kind of jokes that the physicists and chemists come up with. But you never really find out what unobtainium was in this context. How is it that this planet had unobtainium that was it particularly volcanic or massive? And we never really figured it out in the movie. But I don't think that's what matters, because unobtainium is a metaphor. Because what unobtainium really means, when you get right down to it, is something unobtainable, something that cannot really be obtained. And what was Earth civilization all about by that time? Well, you notice that there's very little real democracy in Earth civilization by that time. I mean, it's basically a corporate rule. Congress has no real power. Pretty much the way we're headed, okay? So what do structured hierarchies want? But a formal model, a homogeneous model that explains all things. I mean, or at least that people believe explains all things. I mean, it can be secular, it can be religious, it can be whatever it is. It just has to be accepted. People believe it. People shut up. They do their job. And yet, that is unobtainable. I mean, mathematician Kurt Gödel showed that a formal system of a set number of axioms cannot explain all truth. I mean, or at least he showed that it cannot be expected to explain all truth, that it cannot be known to explain all truth. I mean, you have debates about what incompleteness means, but the bottom line is that what he proved is that some of the assumptions of the set theorists to explain all of mathematics were unobtainable. Those set theorists, by the way, in a lot of cases were, like Bertrand Russell, high up in the British ruling class circles, and maybe carried a conscious or unconscious desire to have a hegemonic, not just a mathematical model, but a hegemonic model to explain all things. Now, Bertrand Russell went back and forth on his politics, and I think as he got older, maybe became less adamant about that, perhaps, or at least more. He did protest World War I, and I think that says a lot for him. So I don't want to stereotype Bertrand Russell as being any one thing or the other. But as a general rule, the Earth civilization wanted a hegemonic model that put a grid on reality. The Pandorans wanted their understanding of reality to be their understanding of reality. It was an understanding the Earth model of religion, again, organized religion. The Earth model of politics, again, top down. The Earth model of science, again, government funded, top down. Pandorans, well, they wanted, their model of religion was direct experience. Their model of politics was some kind of understanding based on their traditions, where there wouldn't be a police force to impose everything. It was just, the tribe, okay, like hunter-gatherers today. Their model of science, direct understanding of nature. You don't get more of a contrast than that. So who really was more advanced? I mean, the Pandorans didn't need to go to other planets to get unobtainium, right? They could respect unobtainium as unobtainium and let unobtainium be itself. So, I think that's the question of the movie. And the movie, you could argue, maybe is a little bit simplistic. It's a little moralistic. It's a morality tale. But, I think it was still a movie that hit the spot for our time. Okay, as those of you who watch Evolution, Religion, and the 1% series knows, this is part of a larger series on meeting of science and religion, and I'm trying to get to a point here. I think the way that science and religion could meet and have a fruitful dialogue might be found through, in a sense, Avatar and some of the philosophies there, where a common respect for the ecology, a sense that the reality of the universe is an organic, a living reality. It's not something you can impose a grid on, that it's not something that any one narrative like, I believe, and you better get saved, or natural selection, that either of these two things, or let's say ideas from the New Age, like ascended masters ordered everything or something, that these things, that the actual reality of the universe is complex and organic. And I think that could be a meeting point for intelligent people. Remember, though, it's a meeting point that comes through philosophy and not through dogmatism. Okay, well, I'm just moving along with this series. I hope this is fruitful for you. Thank you.